here, also known as Globetrottergy, and I would like to welcome you all to another YouTube video episode. So as you guys know, I'm actually a massive beauty pageant fanatic. I always follow beauty pageants every year, most especially the Miss Universe beauty pageant. Now, when I grew up in the Philippines, I have been following Miss Universe every single year. I always make it a point to watch Miss Universe. The first time I actually watched it was when I was 7 years old, when my mom was recording the Miss Universe, and I started getting glued onto the Miss Universe, and I kept watching that video over and over again until it was a yearly thing for me as well, and I started to have that love for beauty pageants. I have been a massive follower of Miss Universe, and I have been privileged to watch the pageant 3 times actually live. Watching Miss Universe live 3 times, it was such a great opportunity, and also feeling the vibe, feeling the excitement that the rest of the pageant fans who are there, you know, watching it, getting excited for their candidates. So it was such a great thing actually to watch the Miss Universe live, and if I get the opportunity to watch it again, I'll definitely not say no to it, definitely. So I'm sure I will be able to watch another Miss Universe very, very soon. Guys, as you know, the 2018 Miss Universe beauty pageant came to an end, and it came with a bang, because our very own Miss Universe Philippines 2018 Catriona Gray ended up winning the most coveted crown in the universe, which is Miss Universe. And oh my days, I was screaming like mad. I actually had to take a day off from work. I had to make sure I did, because last year when I watched the Miss Universe online, I only had 2 hours sleep, and I had to leave. I had to make my way to work earlier, and I tell you, it wasn't the most pleasant thing that has happened. So I was like, ugh. But this year I made it a point that I was going to watch it and I was going to enjoy a day off. So it paid off, and I'm really, really happy because Miss Philippines Catriona won. Totes exciting. I'd like to share with you all my thoughts of the finals night of Miss Universe 2018, and what I actually think about the show in general, and just about anything and everything really that is about the finals. So I was supposed to be vlogging about the Miss Universe pageant even before they started the preliminary competition, but unfortunately I got so busy with lots of things. I got so busy with work that I actually didn't have the time to actually do a vlog. So the Miss Universe started with Neil performing, with the Thai dancers in the background, with drums on the side. The stage is very different compared to the previous years because they actually had it as a cross. It's very, very Victoria's Secret, if I should say so. So I think that the opening number itself was really, really good. I loved it. I'm glad that they also featured and showcased the Thai culture, because I remembered back in Miss Universe 2016, which was actually held in Manila in 2017, I just felt that there wasn't much of Filipino culture that was added into the show itself. But I'm glad that when they had it in Bangkok, Thailand this year, that they actually added an element of Thai culture in there. So well done, Miss Universe organization. Afterwards they went on a commercial break, and then they started selecting the top 20 semi-finalists, and for the second year running they still did the continental selection of the top 20. So they had 5 from Africa, Asia and the Pacific, then they had 5 for Europe, 5 for the Americas, and then 5 wild card. I hope that next year, they scrap out this continental selection, because I didn't really agree with that. It was actually very nerve-wracking that they started with Africa, Asia, the Pacific. Of course, my thoughts were with Miss Philippines Catriona Gray. And then, of course, I started jotting down things from this notebook as well. just to have my thoughts on the Miss Universe, maybe some insights, some observations, and I wrote it down here. So of course with Africa, Asian Pacific, first to be called was South Africa. It was no doubt that she would make it. She would be there, she would be in it because she was in it to win it. Of course for a fact that they're eyeing for a back-to-back as well, so no doubt that South Africa was in there. The second to be called was of course Miss Philippines, Catriona Gray, no doubt about that, but as I was watching, as she was called into the top 20, I could hear the entire venue in Bangkok actually screaming for Miss Philippines. So it was, you could hear thunderous claps, but of course, even back in the Philippines, or all the Filipinos worldwide who were watching that pageant screamed and clapped that Miss Philippines made it to the top 20. The third to be called was Miss Nepal. Actually, I did have her on my list for African Asia, but I've seen a lot of predictions about this girl, and she was actually one of those who made it to most of the predictions in the top 20. And finally, and then they also have, and the next one to be called was Miss Vietnam. I love Miss Vietnam, by the way. Her hair is amazing. She's very edgy, and that's the good thing about her. And then finally, the last to be called in Africa, Asia Pacific was actually Miss Thailand, of course the host nation, and everyone went wild and crazy, of course, for Miss Thailand. And I love Miss Thailand actually, so it was no doubt that she would make it into the top 20. The next one was actually from Europe. We started with Miss Poland, which I think is a surprise for everyone because they didn't actually have this girl on the list, but there must be something that she's done, probably during the closed door interviews or maybe throughout the competition. And then the second one for Europe was Miss Belgium. And I actually love Miss Belgium because she was different. When I think of Miss Belgium, I think about her hair. Did have her on my actual list, but before, when I was actually trying to write down everyone, I had like a top 40 and she was actually in that top 40. So well done, Miss Belgium. And then the next one to be called the third lady was Great Britain, of course, Diane. So she sang actually in front of everyone. She sang A Moment Like This. She is actually the first black Miss Great Britain Universe to compete in Miss Universe. And I think that goes to show this country's diversity of women as well. So Diane, well done and congratulations for representing the diverse community of Great Britain. And me being British Filipino, I'm really proud of her. So congratulations. The next one to be called was Hungary. I did have her on my list initially, but she was actually in a lot of predictions list from other pageant, maybe from pageant experts or from pageant fanatics. When I watched her through during the preliminary, there was actually something about her, and it was no doubt that that would be one of the reasons why she made it into the top 20. And then finally, they called in Miss Ireland, who I did also have on my list. But what I like about this girl is that she talked about reading she's a fan of Harry Potter, and she's read Harry Potter books so many times. So, you know, because she's a Harry Potter fan, like moi, I do like her as well. The next region was the Americas. The first one to be called was Curacao. I love her. She is also a very experienced lady when it comes to pageants. She competed in Reina Hispanoamericana. The second lady is Costa Rica. And I loved her actually. She was funny. She was fearless. She talked about giving advice to Steve Harvey about reading the envelope properly, reading the name of the winner, but you know, that was a good icebreaker actually there. The third lady to be called into the top 20 from the Americas was Canada. She was actually on my list as well, and I love her. She's very model-esque, and it was no doubt that she would make it into the top 20. So Canada, that is actually a 3-year streak now into the semi-finals. So they're doing really well now. And then The fourth lady from the Americas was Puerto Rico, of course, everyone's favorite as well. She made it into the top 20. And I like Puerto Rico. She has a very exotic look. She's charming. It was no doubt that she would make it into the semi-final. So finally they called Jamaica, and when I think of Miss Jamaica, I actually think of Miss Universe 2015 Pia Wurtzbach from the Philippines. She actually has slight similarities to Pia Wurtzbach. And finally, they did the wild card. So there were 5 more wild cards who made it to the top 20. First one to be called was Miss USA. I didn't actually have her on my predictions list. I think her presentation during the prelims wasn't that strong, and her aura was just really, really different. And the next lady to be called into the wild card, of course, Miss Venezuela. And she talked about being in college at the age of 15. Wow. And what I like about Venezuela this year is that she looks really, what I like about her is her hair. She's got that long hair, straight hair, really, really beautiful. The third lady to be called was Miss Indonesia. And then she talked about her 6 siblings, because there are 6 siblings practicing 4 different religions. That is really, really wow. That's just wow. The next one to be called was Miss Brazil. She talked about survival skills in the Amazon. So she was also on my top 40 list after the prelims. So it was no doubt that she made it into the top 20. And then finally, the last lady to be called into the top 20 under the wildcard category was Miss Australia. She talked about cracking jokes, but she said, I don't really create good jokes there, of course. So Miss Australia was the final lady to be called into the top 20. And so all the 20 girls had their say, had their few seconds to actually to impress the judges. South Africa started, and she talked about surviving tuberculosis. Miss Philippines talked about working in the poorest areas in her country. Nepal was the first immigrant generation and talked about health training. Vietnam talked about her coming from an ethnic minority. Thailand talked about dreaming the impossible. Poland was talking about being yourself and not being perfect. Belgium talked about, and she spoke in French, that how she had some insecurities at the age of 13, that she didn't embrace her body, but she gave a message about being strong. Miss Great Britain talked about that we are entitled to more than one dream, and she also talked about being a barrister or a lawyer. Hungary talked about traveling around the world and studying accounting. Ireland talked about being a nurse, using her knowledge and educating women about female health. Curacao talked about society's ideology of beauty. Then Costa Rica, she's talking about the simplicity of beauty. And then Canada talked about her modeling career and changing to being a biomedical engineer. Puerto Rico talked about being a fighter and how she didn't live a life that was easy. Jamaica talked about starting her Miss Universe journey from her insecurities. The problem, and I really feel for Jamaica, bless her. I think she was just really, really nervous. USA talked about being a child life specialist, using her career experience. Venezuela talked about learning how to be confident, her mother being her inspiration. And then Indonesia talked about her family, who actually practices 4 different religions, and also talking about problems in Indonesia. Brazil was talking about proud of being from the Amazon. And then finally Australia talked about advocate of cultural diversity, because she is biracial. So after that, they had a quick video about Miss Spain, Angela Ponce, who is actually one of the most talked contestants this year at the Miss Universe. And then finally Australia talked about advocate of cultural diversity, because she is biracial. So after that, they had a quick video about Miss Spain, Angela Ponce. Angela Ponce from Spain represented her country at the Miss Universe and is the first transgendered woman to compete. So she had her moment to shine, and it really touched me when she said that she doesn't have to win Miss Universe, but she just wants to be there. And she finally fulfilled her dream and her goal, and I'm really, really proud of her. To the commercial, they chose the top 10, and leading the pack was South Africa again. So she was the first one to be called into the top 20, and she's the first one to be called into the top 10. And then second was Vietnam, Venezuela. So we have Vietnam, Venezuela, Philippines, of course, everyone went wild. And then Costa Rica, Curacao, Nepal, Canada, Thailand, and finally Puerto Rico. So whilst they were called into the top 10, there was a video, their personality videos were shown, and I really love all these personality videos. You know, it makes you get to know the girls even more. They announced the national costume winner, and of course they awarded Miss Laos as the best in costume. For the national costume, I actually like Miss Japan's costume. I like that Sailor Moon costume that she wore, because I'm a massive fan of Sailor Moon. I love it. And also Catriona Gray, Miss Philippines costume was amazing, because she had to carry a massive parol, which actually had a slight technical problem, but you know, she pulled through, and I think she really did a good job for, you know, showcasing the Philippine culture under one costume. So well done, Catriona. And then after that, they started with the swimsuit competition. So this year they changed the format. So the top 10 ladies will compete in both a swimwear and the evening gown competition, which kind of makes you feel that you're back in the 90s, because back in the 90s, that's how they do it. Oh, that's how they do it. Sorry. So of course it started with South Africa. My comments here, South Africa, she was very flowy. Vietnam, she walked it. Venezuela was charming. Philippines, slow-mo turn, of course, that's her signature walk. Costa Rica, she had a commanding presence. And then Curacao was superb. Although I've noticed about Curacao when she walked that she kept like tilting her head or shaking. I don't know if it had to do something about the winglets that they wore with their cape. Maybe it was a bit uncomfortable, but I did like the cape. You know, they were like draping it, and they were just like sashaying with the cape. It was lovely. Nepal, I wrote here Aishwarya Rai lookalike, alluring eyes. Canada, body, beautiful, glamour. Thailand, she walked calm. She really reminds me of Miss Universe Japan 2003, Miyazaki, I think that was her name. And finally, Puerto Rico, I wrote here personality and sachet. Evening gown time, of course. And before they actually brought all the top 10 out into the stage and to compete in the evening gown, I actually saw the behind the scenes when Ashley Graham had a quick chat with Miss Philippines, of course, Catriona, and I was just wowed. I said, oh my days, she is not just wearing that beautiful red gown. So this is what the lava gown is all about. This is what the Mayon volcano inspired gown is all about. And then plus she had that earring that she wore when she won Binibining Pilipinas Universe or Miss Universe Philippines, which was very patriotic, very fashion forward, very fabulous. For the evening gown competition, South Africa, I did like the problem about South Africa. I loved her ponytail. It made her look even more taller actually with the hairstyle, with the hairstyle change. The gown was shimmering and beautiful. However, she really had a hard time walking. And yes, I would say I actually thought that would cost her a top 5 slot, but she pulled through, and you know, she did all the best she can, and she was calm when she walked as well with the pose that she did. I did like her pose, which was good, very fashion forward. Vietnam, of course, came out next. I wrote a shoulder arm gown, elegant and smizing. Venezuela, love her hair with that gown. It was really lovely. She had her hair down. I haven't actually seen throughout this competition, and I don't know if it's just me or maybe I haven't seen all the videos, but I've only seen Miss Venezuela with just that long hair. She didn't style it with a different style, but maybe I may have missed out on something, but yes. So she had her hair down and that lovely gown that she wore. And then of course Miss Philippines came out next, and I wrote her shimmering red, the earrings is back. When she actually posed and with that music, the background music by Love or Love, I Like Me Better. That song was just perfect with whilst Catriona was sashaying the stage. So love, love, love. And then this was followed by Miss Costa Rica. I wrote here blue gown. Yeah, there are actually mixed feelings about her gown, but one thing is for sure, I did like the color of the gown and it complemented her. Really suited her personality, her walk, her hairstyle. She was glamorous. Nepal was lovely, you know, she's alluring, but she did have a little trip in that gown, but she had that spark, that oomph still. Miss Canada, and I wrote here glam gown. Wow. Wow, 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 wow with that gown, Miss Canada. Of course, it was designed by a Filipino designer based in Dubai, Michael Cinco. And she looked like an Academy winner or a princess in that gown. It's just amazing. Up next is Miss Thailand, and I wrote here red, simple, but she's calm. So the gown looked really simple, but she walked with finesse. And finally, Miss Puerto Rico. I wrote here, I love her hair, sultry, looks fab in that gown. She's sweet, but she's also fabulous. So well done, Puerto Rico. And of course, after the evening gown competition, they started. They chose the top 5. The top 5 were started with Miss Puerto Rico, Miss Vietnam, Miss Philippines, South Africa, and Venezuela. The top 5, they were all asked different questions, and of course, Puerto Rico was first, talking about freedom of press. Vietnam was asked about the Me Too movement. Philippines, she was asked about her opinion on the legalization of marijuana. South Africa was talking about the number of refugees allowed across a country's borders. Then we have Venezuela. She was asked about what she would say to someone who believes that pageants are archaic and against the feminist movement. So after that, they chose the top 3, which was nerve-wracking. And of course, the first one to be called into the top 3 was Miss Philippines, and then followed by South Africa, then finally Venezuela. And then each one of these girls had 45 seconds to answer the question. So Miss Philippines was the first one, and they had one common question, and this common question was about what is the most important lesson you've learned in your life, and how would you apply it to your time as Miss Universe? So I heard all the answers to this question, and for me personally, and not being biased, Catriona Gray really answered those questions, because it was actually 2 questions. So she was asked about her life lesson, and also how she would apply this to her time as Miss Universe. When I actually heard all 3 of them answer the question, I had a very strong feeling that Miss Philippines was going to win it anyway, because she delivered the answer with so much conviction, with so much confidence, and you know, with the time constraint that they had, she was able to deliver and answered both of them as well. They did their final look, the top 3 finalists, and of course Neo performing one of my favorite songs, Miss Independent. And then, oh, I just love how the three of them are sashaying on stage to the song. And of course, Catriona was amazing, by the way. But all three of them, Catriona and even South Africa, she was just dazzling. And then Venezuela, when she walked, the hair girl, it's all about the hair. Now, before the announcement of winners, I really thought that yes, definitely Catriona was going to win it all. And then my thought was Venezuela was going to be first runner-up and South Africa was going to be second runner-up. So when they announced the winners, so second runner-up was Venezuela, and of course that left South Africa and Philippines. So when Steve Harvey started saying the new Miss Universe is, when he started saying Philippines, that was it. I could not help myself. I screamed like mad at good old 3 in the morning in the UK. Here I screamed at 3 in the morning, and I was just happy for Catriona. The whole Philippines are so proud of her. So overall, I would say that I had a great time watching the Miss Universe this year. It was such a great show. So I'd just like to congratulate, of course, Miss Philippines Catriona Gray for winning that crown. And of course, a massive congratulations to all the contestants, of course to South Africa, to Venezuela for winning first runner-up and second runner-up respectively, to the top 5 finalists, Vietnam, Puerto Rico, and of course to the top 10 and the top 20 girls, and every candidate who competed at the Miss Universe. You know what, ladies, you are all winners in your own right, so congratulations. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you like this video, please don't forget to give this a thumbs up. And if you'd like to subscribe to my channel, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below. And don't forget that bell icon on the right-hand side as well. If you have any thoughts about the Miss Universe competition, or if you've watched the Miss Universe and you just want to express your sentiments about the pageant itself, please don't forget to hit that comment section down below. I'm sure this won't be the last time I'm going to create a pageant vlog, and if you like it, guys, don't forget to follow. Alright then, see ya, ciao, mwah.